Akuma, the coolest and possibly most beloved character in Street Fighter, and also one of its strongest fighters. This raging demon defeats major villains with ease and has very few defeats across the entire series. And even then, he often returns later to finish the job, proving his powers and abilities have only gotten stronger. Today, I'm ranking Akuma against every character in Street Fighter history, to find out who can actually beat him or at least survive the encounter, and of course, the army of losers who would fail. Leave a like down below for Akuma and then comment any crazy facts you know about the character, because every day I'm learning new stuff about this guy. Also, feel free to comment which character you want next. Then after watching, subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, because my Bison video did really well and tons of you were asking for a sequel, so here you go. Every Street Fighter character in history versus Akuma. I'm a pretty big Street Fighter fan in case my Jury statue, Mika statue, and Ryu statue weren't proof enough, but still, I got help from Babe Ruthless, History Behind the Warrior, and the Combat Kings to make this tier list as accurate as possible. So alright everybody, without any further ado, let's begin. Here we go, ranking every character against Akuma, and yes, some characters can beat him. Alright, I know Akuma fans are hardcore, just like the character, that makes sense, but he's lost before. Sometimes it does get retconned, but still, the Raging Demon has lost fights. Plus, some of the really strong characters have never fought him before, so that will be interesting to talk about. Also, real quick, I'm not gonna factor Akuma transforming into Oni or Shin Akuma, because so far that's not canon. It's just a possibility, but has never happened yet. Now that also being said, how would Akuma fare against Oni or other powerful versions of himself? That could be fun to talk about, because if anybody can beat Akuma, it's Akuma, right? Okay, just one more thing before getting started. I'm not including non-canon events like fighting Azura or destroying meteors, all that crazy stuff, or the non-canon crossovers in SNK games, stuff like that, alright? Only canon stuff in today's video, otherwise Akuma is just world-shattering tier, which could be fun for a future video. Let me know in the comments if you want that, like Oni versus all the Street Fighter characters, or Shin Akuma versus all the characters. That could be fun, but today's video is just regular Akuma. So okay, with all that out of the way, here's the tier list. First up is beats Akuma, or draws, because sometimes these fights don't end with Akuma, either because the writers don't want him to lose, or just because Akuma's satisfied and is like, yeah, good fight, see you later. For example, Oro, because that literally happened against Akuma. The two fought, it was a great fight, they shook hands, said GG, and both fighters went home. Now that being said, I personally think Oro could beat Akuma, because we've never seen Oro get serious. I think if he had that dog in him and really wanted to fight Akuma to the death, he would win, but that's just me. Next up, we have Gouken, Akuma's older brother. These two have fought multiple times, but their most recent fight likely ended in a draw because Gouken unlocked the power of nothingness, which is a hard counter to the Satsue no Hadou, also known as the Dark Hadou, which is the evil energy that makes Akuma so powerful. He was already a talented fighter, but he conquered the Dark Hadou and became even stronger. And like just mentioned, the power of nothingness is a good counter to the Dark Hadou. And guess who also mastered the nothingness power recently? Our boy Ryu, who in Street Fighter 6 is arguably at his strongest. To me personally, Ryu is stronger than Gouken at this point, and Akuma's only gotten older. Now maybe by anime logic he's only gotten stronger, but regardless, many Street Fighter fans think Ryu could beat Akuma now, or at the very least it would end in a draw. Next up is Gin, who canonically in Street Fighter Alpha beat Akuma in his ending, but for Akuma the fight ends differently. Gin starts coughing up blood because he does have a terminal illness, at which point Akuma calls the fight off. However, even so, both characters survived the finishing blow, so Akuma did his Raging Demon, and Gin survived, did his strongest move on Akuma, and he survived that too, so pretty close fight. And once again, Gin has a terminal illness, alright, keep that in mind. Without that, maybe he could have beaten Akuma. Honestly, just being younger, maybe he could have beaten Akuma. Next up is Ingrid. I know Akuma fans hate the idea of this underage looking girl defeating Akuma, but realistically it could happen, because according to Street Fighter itself, Ingrid is the strongest character in the entire series. She's the origin of Psycho Drive, which is what Bison calls Psycho Power, but regardless, that energy comes from her, and it's only a tiny fraction of her ability that Bison's using. So think about how powerful that dude is, and how his energy is only a fraction of Ingrid's power. Also, she's a time traveler for a fun fact. Yeah, Ingrid is next level. I can't wait to see what she does in Street Fighter 6, not just gameplay, but also story impact. Alright, next up we have stronger versions of Akuma, like Oni. Realistically, he would beat Akuma in a fight because it's just just Akuma on steroids. Then we have Shin Akuma, so same thing. Akuma in a stronger form. I think Oni is supposed to be stronger, but neither forms are canon as of yet. Then finally, to end off this row, we have crossover characters like Terry Bogard and Kazuya. So Terry's just a beast. This man defeated Ares. Yeah, well actually Mars, but that's the Roman equivalent of Ares. So a literal god of war, Terry Bogard defeated in a regular fight. And it was over in like 5 seconds. Terry Bogard is just monstrously powerful. It makes no sense, but hey, that's main character syndrome. Then Kazuya. So before even reaching his full form, fought Akuma to at least a draw in Tekken 7. And in my opinion, it's more likely Kazuya won, because why would Akuma just stop? He's trying to get revenge for Kazumi. Why would he give up and just leave? You know what I mean? But maybe it was a draw. Either way, that's not full power Kazuya, alright? He gets much stronger in Tekken 8. So yeah, I think Kazuya could beat Akuma. But don't freak out, Akuma fans, because that's it for this tier. Everyone else on this list only has a chance of beating Akuma or lower. So for example, Gil. This man lost to Akuma, but then resurrected instantly, and apparently it's canon that Gil never takes a fight seriously and is just gathering data on people. In other words, he loses on purpose, resurrects, and then leaves. But realistically, when you see all the crazy nonsense Gil can do, it stands to reason he could beat most Street Fighter characters, including Akuma. This man can summon meteors and blizzards, angelic energy itself, right? This guy's nuts. Then we have Charlie. This picture shows Nash from Street Fighter V, but I prefer Charlie from the Alpha series, who did beat Bison until that got retconned. If you can beat Bison and barely take a scratch, I think you have a chance at beating Akuma. I'm just saying. Then we have Evil Ryu, who's basically Akuma, but in Ryu's body, right? If Ryu gave in to the Dark Hadou and became Evil Ryu, I think he stands a chance at Akuma. I really do. Because even during Alpha 2, Akuma was like, yo, Ryu, you're legit. Get a bit stronger and this fight's gonna be close. And real quick, speaking of that fight, a minor segue. Everyone talks about Akuma sinking an island, but honestly, it's not very big of an island and it's mostly rock. So what actually happened most likely is Akuma destroyed the center of this rocky archipelago, and that caused it to fall apart into the ocean. It wasn't sank, it was like shattered and fractured and fell apart. Because again, look at the image, it's mostly rock, right? I always thought when people said that Akuma sunk an entire island like Hawaii, no, it was like a tiny cluster of rocks next to a bigger island, which is still impressive, don't get me wrong, but not the same as sinking Hawaii, right? Anyway, segue over, back on topic. Violent Ken has a chance of beating Akuma, I think. This guy has psycho power and is Ken Masters, who originally was stronger than Ryu up until Street Fighter V. We even see that in story mode. Before Ryu unlocked the power of nothingness, Ken was beating him in a fight. So imagine that same Ken with psycho energy. I think Akuma would sweat a little bit. I'm not saying he would win definitively. This tier is just about people who could win. So next up is M. Bison. I'm talking either Street Fighter V Bison or Alpha Bison, when he's amped up by a machine that creates even more psycho energy for him to use. In Street Fighter V and Alpha, he's done this. I forgot about that in earlier games, M. Bison did the exact same thing. But yeah, he's strongest in those games. And I think with that Psycho Drive technology amping him up, maybe Bison could beat Akuma. Then next up we have Cody. So I've joked about how strong this guy is. He throws rocks to beat fireballs. Like Hadokens just lose to him tossing a rock. And also he creates tornadoes by uppercutting. Not because he has airbending powers. No, he's just that strong that uppercuts create tornadoes. Yeah, I think Cody would give Akuma a very good match. Then we have Dalsum. So this character is way more mystical than people realize. He's not just stretchy and creates fire. No. The man hacks your brain to make you think you're on fire, but it's an illusion. Yeah, Dalsum can read your mind and even control your mind a lot of the time. This guy is really mystical. In fact, some fans think he stretches with magic too, but yeah, regardless, Dalsum is a magical being with very powerful abilities. I'd say he's similar to Oro in that regard. He's unlocked inner potential within himself. He's not Oro level, but his magical abilities come from that same idea. Then next up is Ed. This man's a clone of Bison, who's a fantastic boxer trained by Balrog, who's very powerful. So yeah, those two things combined, I think Ed would give Akuma a good tussle. Then on top of that, main character energy. Alright, Ed definitely has some main character energy. Although with that said, should Ed go in good challenge? Maybe he should, along with JP for the same reason. Having psycho energy doesn't give you an automatic win, but it does make you a good challenge for Akuma. Instead, in this tier, I'm putting Rose because she's very mystical, very powerful, and can see the future, which might give her an edge against Akuma. However, the issue is her killing intent. Rose is a goody two-shoes. I don't see her committing enough to the fight to actually beat Akuma, but if she did fully commit to the fight, maybe she could win. Then finally, last but not least, we have Heihachi, mainly from Tekken 8. After he headbutts the meteor and becomes just absurdly powerful, it's low-key implied he's devil strength now, like as strong as the devil trigger from Jin or Kazuya. It's implied, which is nuts to think about, but also he destroyed a meteor that apparently could have destroyed Japan, and he broke it to bits by headbutting it, alright, used his dome to destroy a meteor, and he catches bullets with his teeth too. Heihachi is next level. That said, he did lose to Akuma in Tekken 7. However, that's before the buff, alright, and even so, I put him in a lower tier, so don't freak out, Akuma fans. Okay, next up is good challenge. So these characters don't need a big explanation because they're not beating Akuma, they're just giving him a good challenge. So Alex, for example, Sagat, Urien, all these characters are pretty powerful. Nikali, I think, would give Akuma a good challenge before he got nerfed intentionally, Majin Buu style. For anyone watching not aware, Nikali was stronger before consuming someone who lost to him on purpose to make him weaker from the inside by just messing up his brain or something. Yeah, in short, Nikali was stronger before we see him in Street Fighter V. That's actually the nerfed version. Then we have Abel, maybe Luke as well because he's a main character. Ken, where should Ken go? At the back of could win? Will Street Fighter fans get mad about this? Because I feel like not including Ken in tier 2 is its own sin. So yeah, I'm putting Ken here. By the way, I'm gonna rearrange these left to right later on, so don't freak out. Would Q be a good challenge? I suppose so. He's a freak of nature in his own right. Zangief would be a good challenge. The man gets stronger every single game. I swear to God. Does he have any losses canonically either? Because Zangief has so many crazy feats. Stopping katanas that have cursed energy with like his pecs and like stopping bullets, all that crazy stuff. So Jury before getting nerfed in Street Fighter V would be a good challenge for Akuma, I think. See Viper as well, only because she studies the opponent and learns everything about them before fighting. So she could learn which attacks and strategies work best against Akuma and then adapt that to her own fighting style to have a better chance. I suppose Fang and Adon would be a good challenge just because they're so weird and wonky. Marissa is almost as strong as Zangief, maybe, and then Manon I think is stronger than her canonically. They both fight each other and have different endings in their respective stories, but to me it seems more canonical that Manon wins based on the dialogue and other outside factors. Then what the heck, put the other 4 kings in here, right? Vega and Balrog. Maybe Aki, is she as strong as Fang? Possibly stronger, I don't know. Oh, so Guy would be a good challenge, and so would Dudley, I think. Maybe Falk, that's fair to say. Kage. Did Kage actually beat Akuma? I think he did, so I'll put him in could win. There's no way that fight was canon, right? Because I don't think Kage's real. He's like an essence. So did he actually fight Akuma? I'm not sure, but fans keep telling me he actually beat Akuma initially, so we'll go with that. Rolento with all of his weapons might be a challenge. Cammy and Chun-Li should go here because if I don't do that, people get mad at me. Chun-Li has a terrible win-loss record, people, okay? I'm sorry. Because I love Chun-Li. I want to prop this character up, but she only has like 1 canon win against Fang. Every other victory is either retconned or downplayed. The enemy always gets away somehow, or it's just non-canon straight up. So I'm sorry, I like Chun-Li. I wish the writers liked her as much as you and I do, but canonically, she has very few wins. Next up is landing some hits, and you know what? I'm putting Chun-Li down here. Maybe Cammy as well, because they don't have that dog in them. They're good fighters, they're skilled, but they don't have that next level energy, which means Rolento's going down here too, and Falk, yada yada yada. The rest of these characters, maybe Adon goes down here. Yeah, that feels better. Then other world warriors are going down here, like Guile, T-Hawk, right? DJ, Elena. They never actually fight because they're friends, but if they did fight, Elena might be a good challenge because she can keep healing herself. Jamie, I'm not sure if he has a chance, honestly. Well, he should be with Luke though, right? Because they're almost even, so like that. Then we have E Honda and Blanca, all those fun characters. Oh, our Mika, I think she'd be a good challenge, but people seem to hate Rainbow Mika in the comments, and I'm not sure why. Is it her personality, or is the gameplay just annoying to deal with? Because lore-wise, I think Mika should be strong. She trained under Zangief, took a direct punch to the face from Balrog like it was nothing, which is pretty crazy because Balrog is up there in terms of power level, one of Bison's 4 kings, alright? He hand-selected this guy to be his top henchman, and our Mika tanked his punch to the face like it was nothing, didn't even block. She just took it and said, that doesn't hurt very bad. So yeah, Mika's pretty nuts. But then again, seeing her here feels kind of goofy, so I'll put her down in this row, along with Karin and Sakura. These characters are freaks of nature, to be sure. Much stronger than they should be. Fei Long, so someone in the comments told me Fei Long beat Balrog and Vega at the same time in Alpha 3. That's not true. You straight up lied to me. He beat Balrog. And even then, the fight was inconclusive. Balrog just got frustrated and left. He wasn't knocked out or anything. Even so, I do think Fei Long would give Akuma a good challenge, but stop lying to me in the comments, right? The amount of times I've caught Street Fighter fans lying to me about fake lore, man, if I had $1 every time that happened, I'd have a mansion by now. Oh yeah, Seth, I think he goes in good challenge because he can mimic so many different fighting styles, and at first that would throw off Akuma, that Seth has so many different weird abilities. He's not gonna win, but it would throw Akuma off. Alright, then finally is no chance, or zero chance, whatever you want to say. So Dan Hibiki, Birdie, he beat Chun-Li, by the way. Birdie beat Chun-Li in Street Fighter V. You all forget about that. So I'm just saying, Chun-Li's not looking good in recent games, all right? That KD is really bad. Saddam, the dolls, one of which is in the Street Fighter movie. I find that hilarious. This girl from Final Fight, she might be a good challenge, actually. Yun and Yang, El Fuerte, Ibuki, I think they're all going down here. This guy, Necro, yeah, he's down here too. Pretty much a huge chunk of characters are gonna go down here, but don't freak out. I'm gonna rearrange them last minute in the final part of the video, so don't freak out just yet. The character you like might end up in one of these other rows up top, but for now, I'm just putting them all down here and I'll rearrange later because a lot of these characters are just jobbers. I still love them, they're interesting, but they are jobbers. Rashid did defeat Fang, but it was more of a gimmick of his powers keeping the poison away, so I don't know how strong Rashid actually is. Laura, is she strong? Only one cannon win against Zangief and Mika, but she was teamed up with Alex, so did he do all the work? We have no idea. Colleen has no canon wins whatsoever, so who knows about her. Abigail is not doing anything either. Man, a lot of these new characters in Street Fighter V just have no wins whatsoever, same in Street Fighter 6. So yeah, sadly a lot of characters are just going here. Mai was technically in Street Fighter 6. Where should I put her? Maybe in landing some hits because she's a mix-up queen and distracting you with the titties. That's canon. Now would that work on Akuma? No idea. I'm guessing not, but would be funny if it did work. And alright, every character is on the board with a snap of my fingers. Now they're arranged from best to worst, alright? Not just top and down, but also left to right. Every Street Fighter character ranked against Akuma. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below or comment while I'm wrong, but keep it civil, alright? Don't get salty. This video is just for fun, and I did the best research I could. So one more time, thanks for watching, and subscribe so you never miss any future videos. Come back next time, everyone, and as always, stay underdogs.